Nwaneri, the 17-year-old Wonderkid who is making waves at Arsenal. He's already a first-team player and he is pushing Arteta to make him a first 11 player. But here's the scary truth. Most people still don't realise just how good Nwaneri is and they still treat him as some academy player. But he is much more than that and he can genuinely save what's left of Arsenal's season, especially with Saka out, Havertz out, Martinelli out. By the end of this video, you'll see why Nwaneri isn't just some new young talent. He's a future superstar at Arsenal who can save them millions going forward. But before we do a deep dive into Nwaneri's career at Arsenal and how his development will be going forward, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts on Nwaneri down below and subscribe for more. Alright, let's start with the game that really put Nwaneri on the map for Arsenal and made so many people put their attention on how good this kid is. Arsenal's match against Leicester recently, with key players like Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, Kai Havertz and so many other injuries in this Arsenal team. Arsenal turned to a 17-year-old to play on the right wing and that was Nwaneri. Now you'd expect a teenager to struggle, not be used to Premier League football, first team football, but this guy can play. He looked like a seasoned pro. You have Raheem Sterling at left wing, you had Leandro Trossard up front and then you had Nwaneri at right wing. When you watch the game, you wouldn't think Raheem Sterling is the player who's won 4 Premier Leagues, who's got over 100 goals in the Premier League, and Nwaneri is an academy player who's coming into the first team ready to make an impact on the team. You would have seen Nwaneri and thought this kid has won it all. That's how good he looked with the ball at his feet. He was genuinely, especially in that first half, the most influential and best player on the pitch. Just look at some of these stats during the game. He had the most take-ons attempted, most crosses delivered, most progressive passes received, and he was involved in 50.4% of Arsenal's 11 shots. We're talking about a serious player here. Not only is he comfortable getting that ball into the box, not only is he comfortable taking his players on 1v1, but he's also got that ability to collect in dangerous areas for Arsenal, in the more offensive areas, and truly make an impact on that Arsenal team in the final third. And let's not forget, when Arsenal needed a player to stand up, it was him who stood up to get that brilliant assist for Mikel Merino. He cuts inside on his left foot and Yamal-like, Saka-like, he crosses the ball in and Merino does a perfect header into the bottom corner. It wasn't Martin Odegaard, it wasn't Declan Rice, it wasn't these expensive players or the experienced players. It was the 17-year-old kid from the academy who stood up to be counted. And he basically told the rest of the players, I'm here to stay in the first team. I'm ready for this. Mikel Arteta has put me into this situation and I am here to take over and make sure Mikel Arteta thinks about where he can position me going forward in the first team, not just as a squad player. The only other 17-year-old in the world right now who could put in a performance like Nwaneri did in that Leicester game genuinely is Lamine Yamal. That's why people are comparing Nwaneri to Lionel Messi, Fabregas and other legends who at 17 years old were doing similar things to what Nwaneri is doing right now at Arsenal. But this isn't just coming from watching him against Leicester. It's not from one great game. Nwaneri's dribbling skills have always been elite from when he was younger to when he is now. Most young players, when they try to dribble past defenders, especially when they finally get their chance in the first team, they get overexcited and they start to make it affect their play. But Nwaneri knows when to dribble, when to slow down the play, when to speed it up and when to take on his man. His first step is explosive. It allows him to escape his defenders, and once he gets that separation, he's able to bring in a cross, he's able to get his shot. He doesn't just dribble for show or for showboating. He dribbles to make himself available on the pitch in the right places, create separation from his markers and create space for his teammates. And the thing is, he's not just a final third specialist. He can slow things down in the first phase, he can speed things up in the second phase, and in the final third, like we spoke about, he has the composure to make the right decisions. Arsenal have struggled with quick transitions this season. When you look at their team, every single time they have a transition on, it gets slowed down, whether that's Kai Havertz taking a touch backwards, whether that's Martinelli passing it back to his left back, or even Martin Odegaard who just twirls around in the middle of the pitch when there's an opportunity to transition. Nwaneri is different. He's confident in his ability to move that ball forward. You saw a couple of times in the Leicester game, especially one moment where he was on the byline, he cuts inside on his left foot and he plays the pass to Declan Rice, and Arsenal had a great transition opportunity there if Declan Rice could get the right touch and get into Trossard. But that type of play is exactly what's been missing in Arsenal's game recently, and Nwaneri is a player who can definitely bring it back. On top of that, Nwaneri's turning radius is brilliant. He's able to grab hold of his opponents and turn them with his low center of gravity. He uses his body really well to get away from his markers. His ability to just turn and find that teammate going forward. And when he can do that consistently for Arsenal, is going to be the exact reason why Mikel Arteta will be forced to put Nwaneri into that team. There's a reason why this kid was the youngest ever player to feature in the Premier League at just 15 years old. It wasn't just to make a record at Arsenal. It was because this kid was ready. Like we were talking about younger players, we've seen even mature players who have brilliant dribbling skills but have nothing to show for it. For example, Adama Traore at Fulham. We all know how good he is at dribbling, but that final third play has never been composed enough for him to be a top player. That's not the same for Nwaneri. In just his last 4 games for Arsenal, he's scored twice and he's assisted. That's not a fluke. When you watch his goals and you notice that his ball striking is absolutely elite and he has so much versatility to his ball striking. If you want him to curl it into the top corner, he's comfortable doing that. If you want him to smash it into the near post, he's comfortable doing that. You can see how versatile he is with his finishing ability. He's not stuck to just one way of finishing his goals. When you think about it, when they're very down in the dumps and their team can't create chances, there was one man who consistently stepped up, and that was Bukayo Saka. They didn't have anyone else who can do that. A long range shot, maybe a long range pass, someone who can just break the lines with the eye of the needle pass. But Nwaneri has that X factor about him. He makes something out of nothing. And when you look at his numbers right now for Arsenal, he's putting up like 0.97 goals and assists per 90. I know it's a small sample size. I know he usually plays against the weaker teams, but we're talking about a 17-year-old. That is special. He still played Champions League games. He still played Premier League games. Yes, I know the teams that he's played against, sometimes there's less pressure on him, but when he's been asked to play on the pitch, he has always produced for Arsenal so far. And I feel like Arteta kind of regrets when he brought Nwaneri into this Arsenal team. And the reason why I say that is, at the time Martin Odegaard had a major injury, Arteta had a decision to make. And I was telling everyone that even though he's sticking with this Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Mikel Merino stiff midfield, or he's bringing Kai Havertz into the midfield, he needs to trust Nwaneri. And the reason I say that is because with only Bukayo Saka on the pitch, who does the dirty work of assisting and scoring with his creativity and excellent goal scoring ability, if you put Nwaneri on the pitch with him, you're taking some of that creative burden off him, just like what Martin Odegaard does on that side when he's on top form. So let me know what you think in the comments. Should Mikel Arteta have brought Nwaneri in when Martin Odegaard got injured or not? Let's talk about Nwaneri's decision making and footballing IQ. The best players don't just have skill, they know when to play a pass, when to take a shot, and 9 times out of 10 they make the correct decision in front of goal. When you think about the best players in the world, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, I can keep going, but when you think about them, you always think about how they make such an excellent decision in such tight spaces, in tight moments, and that's exactly what Nwaneri does. He doesn't have the experience yet because he's not had enough minutes, but every time I've watched him, his decision making is usually correct. He scans the pitch before receiving the ball. He understands what play to make next before the ball's even touched him, and that's very important for a player who could have a future on the centre of the pitch. We're going to touch on his versatility later, but if he wants to be in that central role that Martin Odegaard kind of plays right now, then he needs to be able to scan the pitch before the ball even comes to him. And when you think about a lot of young players, the issue they have is that when pressure is on them, they get stuck, they give the ball away, and that allows the opposition team to have a counter attack on you, to transition on you. But Nwaneri knows. He knows when to play that risky pass. He knows when to play that very simple pass so that he's not able to give the ball away for transitions to occur. And we all know how Mikel Arteta loves his rest events to be solid. And Nwaneri brings into that by keeping the ball so well. And when you talk about his vision is next level. He creates passing lanes that other players just can't see. When you think about the best number 10s like Martin Odegaard right now, Mesut Ozil, Kevin De Bruyne, he's got that passing ability about him, whether that's an excellent through ball, whether that's a far post cross, which we've already seen he has on lock. Against Leicester, he done it 3 or 4 times where he played a pass into the back post and Arsenal had dangerous opportunities just from what Nwaneri was doing. Those switches of play, lobbed passes. Nwaneri can do it all. He just needs that little bit of experience now in the first team to be able to enhance on those skills that he has. But like I was talking about earlier, I want to touch on his versatility, but on top of that, his speed and agility as well. One of the most exciting things about Nwaneri is he's not fixated slated to a position. He's comfortable out wide on the right wing when he's 1v1 with his markers. He's comfortable inside in the central midfield role when he's have very tight pressure on him, when there's a high press on him. He's comfortable turning his markers. He's comfortable keeping the ball, which is so important in that area of the pitch. So where does he actually fit in the future? Well, it doesn't really matter, because if you play him right wing, he might still want to come inside. If you play him centrally, he might go out wide with Saka coming inside. And this type of thing is very important. He reminds me a little bit of what Bernardo Silva was at Manchester City when he was at the peak of his game. And he's quick. He's deceptively quick. I've seen him and he feels like he's very slow, but when he's got the marker 1v1, he's able to beat him with his first step being so quick. It's similar to what Jack Wilshere used to do in his younger days, being able to beat that man on your first step and then creating the separation for the cross. He's very unpredictable because defenders don't know whether he's going to go onto his right foot. As we've seen, he has a strong right foot. In that Leicester game, he took a shot on his right foot and it smashed the bar. But then he's also comfortable on his left foot. When he cuts inside, he could smack one into the top corner. So what does a defender do? And that is one thing that a player always needs. Don't let the defender be able to guess what you're going to do. And that's something that can be a massive weapon for Nwaneri going forward at Arsenal. And when you add to that his balance and his agility, he's a nightmare for defenders. Arsenal could easily spend 65, 70 million on a player like him who has a similar profile to what he has. But they don't have to, because Hale End, on top of having Lewis Skelly, was able to produce a player like Ethan Nwaneri, and his future is very bright. Of course, no player is perfect, so there's going to be a few things Nwaneri definitely needs to improve on going forward. And number one is definitely his physical strength. He needs to bulk up a little bit just to be able to compete with the stronger defenders in the Premier League, especially at the highest games where the pressure's tough, when it's high press, you need your athleticism. He needs to be able to bulk up a little bit so he can keep that ball better, similar to what Bukayo Saka did. When you watch Saka when he was younger, yes, he was quick and agile, but he wasn't strong enough. Now when you watch him, he still has that little bit of agility and speed about him, but on top of that, he has the physical strength to just hold off his markers. And when he's able to hold them off and create separation, we all know 9 times out of 10 how that ends, with Bukayo Saka scoring a goal. And then on top of that, he has defensive work rate. We all know how much Mikel Arteta wants his attackers to defend. Whether that's Martinelli, whether that's someone as world-class as Bukayo Saka, everyone has to put in a shift defensively. And Nwaneri is not going to be an exception to that. He needs to be able to work hard defensively and still have the legs moving forward. That's something that's going to come with age and experience. And more time, more exposure he gets at Arsenal, the more time you'll see that this type of thing will improve. And finally, consistency in big games. Nwaneri hasn't been given the opportunity too much in the big games yet. He hasn't been trusted because when Arsenal have a fully fit squad, you have Martin Odegaard, you have Bukayo Saka in the positions that he would like to play. But when Mikel Arteta starts to trust him, you want to be able to see that he's able to show that same level he showed against Leicester, against the Man Cities, against the Liverpools, against his title rivals, and then be able to create goals and opportunities in that so that he can impact the game in a positive way, especially under Mikel Arteta, who expects that from his right winger, who expects that from his right centre mid. And if he can improve on these areas going forward, on top of the technical base that he already has and the strong fundamentals he already has as a football player, then we're talking about a proper player. But like I said, Arsenal might genuinely have a superstar on their hands. Nwaneri has everything, whether that's dribbling, intelligence, composure, versatility, everything you want in a game, and he's only 17 years old. The big question is, will his development continue to go upwards as it has so far, and will he be given the game time by Mikel Arteta and trusted for him to be able to develop enough? If he can, will he develop into a massive talent for Arsenal where he becomes a key player in the team? And the other thing is, will Nwaneri give the same loyalty to Arsenal if they continue to keep him on the bench when he knows he can play first team football? We saw similar when Cole Palmer left Manchester City for Chelsea. He was ready for first team football, so he took that step by just leaving Man City. Let me know what you think about Nwaneri in the comments. If you enjoyed the video though, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know whenever I upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.